The doors of the Los Angeles County Courthouse swung shut, and a thick hush settled over the room. Whispers slithered down the rows as if the very air were scared to break the moment. Front row, cameras asleep. Back row, onlookers laying bets on the fate of the kid at the defense table. Michael Sanders, 19, wore a plain jacket. Hands shoved in his pockets, chin lifted just a bit, he stared at the man running the show. Judge Parker Thompson leaned back, drummed his fingers on the polished wood, and eased into a smile that was half boredom, half mockery. "This isn't a debate club, kid," he muttered. The bailiff let out a quick laugh. The court reporter bit her pen cap. The prosecutor straightened his tie, pleased with himself. Michael didn't move, as if every breath had been rehearsed. To the crowd, he was just the defendant, charged with grand theft auto and resisting arrest. But he felt right at home. He'd grown up around case files, his mom, a legal assistant, spread across the kitchen table. While his classmates memorized NBA stats, Michael pored over precedents. When friends traded blows in video games, he broke down imaginary rulings. Now, facing Thompson, he mapped the judge's cadence, marked the pauses, tallied each look of disdain. The people in those seats cheered authority. Michael was counting loopholes. For him, the game started here, and the defense wasn't staying in the bleachers. Thompson barely registered who was standing there. To the judge, Michael was just another unlucky kid. He slammed the gavel, adjusted his glasses, and announced without hiding the boredom, "Let's keep this short. My tea time's at 2. A ripple of approval ran through the room. Amid the laughs, almost no one noticed the slight curve forming on Michael's lips. In that split second, the kid spotted the first crack in the wall around him. Then Prosecutor Simon Murphy rose, a statue in fine wool. He thumbed his tie knot, opened his jacket just enough to flash an expensive watch, and launched the attack, voice trained to sound flawless. "Your Honor, the state will show, beyond any reasonable doubt, that Michael Sanders was found inside a 2022 Audi A6 reported stolen hours earlier. Patrol cars spotted him downtown, gave chase, and despite his attempt to run, took him into custody. His fingerprints were on the wheel. The facts speak for themselves." The words hammered the courtroom like an early verdict. Heads dipped into murmurs. Curious eyes swung to the defendant. Thompson, though, kept the look of a man only waiting for the next hole on the golf course. He flipped a page, shot the accused an impatient glance, and nodded. "Proceed." Murphy walked across the floor toward the jury box. The sharp click of his shoes cracked the silence. "The defense will claim this was all a mix-up, that Sanders is a victim of fate," he said, turning to Michael. "But tell me, who's innocent yet still runs?" A mild buzz rolled through the gallery. The judge rested his chin on his hand, listening. Michael stayed stone still. Murphy lifted a folder. "Your Honor, I have Officer David Hughes's report. He identified the defendant behind the wheel moments before the chase. The car, confirmed stolen, was impounded according to protocol." Heads nodded. The story seemed straight, no gray areas. Even so, Michael saw cracks no one else did. The gavel tapped the podium. "Let's hear the defense." All eyes turned to Kristen Thornton. The public defender shuffled her papers, but no words came. She stood, drew a breath. "Your Honor, my client." The sentence died. Michael lightly touched her arm, a silent signal. Kristen sat back down. The scrape of chairs blended with the room's quickened heartbeat. Then Michael spoke up for the first time. "I'll defend myself, Your Honor." Suddenly, surprise and curiosity swept through the jurors. Murphy closed his folder, sensing the new fight. The judge straightened in his seat. No one even blinked. Everyone wanted to see the next move. The courtroom doors had shut, and for a moment not even breathing could be heard. Thompson, alongside the jury, wore the amused spark of someone recognizing the start of a long game. Michael lifted his chin, filled his lungs slowly, and broke the silence with a steady voice. "I'll handle my own defense." A whisper rustled across the wooden benches like dry leaves. The bailiff looked up. Murphy let out a smile that vanished fast, replaced by a short laugh. "This should be good." No one laughed back. Michael stepped forward, hands still in his jacket pockets, feeling the weight of every stare. He let the silence hang just long enough for the tension to settle, then faced the judge. "Your Honor." He stopped on purpose and turned to the prosecution table. "Before we move on, I need to confirm something with the state." Murphy raised an eyebrow and crossed his arms in a calculated move. Go ahead. Michael's shoes echoed across the floor as he came closer. You said Officer David Hughes spotted me behind the wheel just seconds before the stop. Is that right? Murphy let out a bored sigh. That's right. The clock over the door seemed to find a new beat. The air thickened as if every next word could shake the pillars of the trial. Michael allowed himself a restrained smile, ready for the next question. And his statement is in the report? Yes, sir, it is. Michael nodded, stepped half a pace back, and turned to Judge Thompson. Your Honor, I move to strike this testimony from the record. Thompson frowned. On what grounds? Up to that point, Michael's hands had been in his pockets. Now he gestured toward the prosecution table. Officer Hughes never saw me in that car. In fact, he wasn't even on duty when the chase began. Murphy blinked, visibly confused. What are you talking about? Michael stepped forward, his voice steady but controlled. If the court agrees, I'd like the squad car's GPS from that night. If the report says the officer ID'd me behind the wheel, the location log should show he was there. But he let the sentence hang, making the silence hover over the room. I have every reason to believe it won't. Whispers rippled through the gallery, breaking the stiffness of the room. Thompson shot the prosecution a stern look. Murphy cleared his throat. His tight jaw showed the strain. Your Honor, this is a trained officer's report. Are we really going to take a defendant's word over a public servant's? Michael lifted his shoulders almost casually. If the officer was where he claims, the GPS will prove it. If he wasn't. Thompson fixed his gaze on the officer for a few seconds, then turned to Prosecutor Murphy. The defense is requesting the patrol car's tracking data. Does the state object? Murphy hesitated. The short pause swept through the courtroom like a whisper. At last he admitted, "No objection, Your Honor." The murmur died out and the silence grew heavier. As he rearranged his papers, the prosecutor no longer looked so sure of himself. Until the records come in, he said, trying to regain his pace, the central fact stands. The defendant's fingerprints were on the steering wheel of the stolen vehicle. Michael held firm. He stood, faced the jury, and locked eyes with each juror in measured calm. The state says that because my prints were on the car, I stole it. Let's unpack that leap in logic. He paused, making everyone lean in a little. Picture this. You walk into a store, try on a jacket, zip it up, put your hands in the pockets, then hang it back on the rack. Hours later, someone runs off with that same jacket. Just because your prints are still on the fabric, does that make you the thief? The question hung in the air like a challenge no one was quick to take, while everyone waited for the GPS coordinates. A murmur rolled through the jury. Eyes traded looks, searching for an answer. Michael stepped in before the tension could fade. The car was parked outside a 7-Eleven in the early hours, well before the alleged theft. I was there with 3 friends. I walked by, put my hand on the body, pulled the handle, and the door opened because it wasn't locked. I didn't start the engine, didn't take anything, didn't go for a spin. It was just curiosity. He let the picture hang there and added, straight to the point, "Does touching something make you a thief?" Murphy clears his throat, flipping pages like a man trying to regain control of a stack that's slipping away. I'm not done yet. About the prints, who vouched for that evidence? I turned to the judge. Your Honor, has the forensic examiner been called? Thompson raises his eyebrows and looks over at the prosecutor. Murphy hesitates, takes a breath, and admits, No. I take a deep breath. So that's how it is. You use a forensic analysis to try to nail me, but you don't bring in the person who did it. No chance to ask about the chain of custody. No chance to see how careful the process was. Silence. I face the jury. The doubt now echoes through the room. If the rules fall apart here, where else could they fall apart? Murphy's jaw clenches when he realizes the hearing has just flipped. In the back of the room, everyone can feel the board is turned over. Michael gives a quick nod. Sure, he's found the missing piece. Judge Thompson pinches the bridge of his nose. The path to a verdict is no longer straight. Even so, Michael hasn't shown all his cards yet, and in the very next beat he makes the move that could change everything. He steps forward, steady voice. Your Honor, I'd like to submit an official statement from the owner of the vehicle. The judge's brow furrows. From the owner? Yes, sir. Mr. Maxwell Jones, the registered owner of the Audi in question. Michael keeps going, staring at the prosecution table. This statement was given to the police, but it never made it into the record. I can guess why. He turns to Murphy. Remember what Mr. Jones said the night of the theft? Murphy stays silent. That's the only defense against what's coming. Unhurried, Michael lifts the transcript and reads, I left the car running while I went into the convenience store. A kid jumped in and took off. It wasn't the man you arrested. I saw him and he was white. The words echo. No one dares to fill the space. Murphy's jaw works again, but no muscle can stop the tide from turning. A murmur rolls through the courtroom when Michael raises the document, the white page reflecting off the rows of focused jurors. This part, conveniently ignored, he points, voice calm and steady, belongs to the original police report. The officer left it out of his testimony, yet they expect you to believe that I, who don't match the real thief's description, should be convicted. Prosecutor Murphy tries to cut in. Your Honor, irrelevant. The defendant was found with the vehicle. I wasn't. Michael cuts him off, tone unchanged. I was several blocks away, heading home after grabbing snacks with friends. I didn't drive the car, I didn't run, I didn't hide. What got me here were assumptions and sloppy police work. Judge Thompson rubs his temples. Every word from Michael seems to loosen another screw in the prosecution's case. He turns to the jury. The real driver got away that night. Hours later, the police found a young black man in the neighborhood and decided that was close enough. That's what this trial is about. The entire room holds its breath. Even the chairs stop creaking. Thompson clears his throat. Prosecution, anything else? Murphy, face on fire, hunts for answers in the open code book in front of him, but the pages stay silent. Nothing further, Your Honor. The clock ticks, and every second seems to announce the prosecution's theory has lost its footing. The silence that falls lasts less than a heartbeat, but it stretches. The judge drops the gavel, firms his voice, and declares the case closed. The impact ripples through the room. First the jury, then the gallery, then the reporters racing to fill their notebooks. Michael stays still, wanting to savor every bit of shock hanging in the air. Only then does he lift his face and find something new in the judge's eyes. Respect, maybe a hint of regret. He takes 2 steps toward the door when he hears his name. Mr. Sanders. He stops. Think about going to law school. It sounds less like an invitation and more like a statement of fact. Michael quirks a corner of his mouth. The application was sent weeks ago. In the hallway, the old crackle of flashes and mics pops up in front of him. Did you expect the decision? What's next? How did it feel to beat such a seasoned prosecutor? He pulls up his hood and keeps walking, letting the questions ricochet off the stone. He doesn't need the spectacle. The win speaks for itself. At the bottom of the steps, Crystal waits. Her crossed arms look like scolding, but the slight tremble in her chin shows relief. For a moment, mother and son share a look that needs no caption. Then she shakes her head, takes a deep breath and whispers, half scold, half tenderness, "Boy, you almost took years off my life." Michael lets out a short laugh and scratches his neck. "I had to try, Mom." She hugs him tight. "You've always followed your own path." The flashes are still popping, but Michael no longer notices. Across the street, leaning against the official car, Judge Thompson watches. The old imposing stance has melted into a thoughtful gaze. A case that started as routine is now etched into his memory. Michael has done what few can. He forced the system to look at itself. And for a moment, the system backed down. How many lives get sealed not for lack of proof, but because of shortcuts, bias, and the rush to close files? He had the knowledge to fight. Many don't. That's why this win is bigger than one name in lights. It's a reminder that battles rage in every courthouse hallway. Next time, Michael won't be in the defendant's seat. He'll be wearing a lawyer's robe, and he won't be alone. If this story sparked something in you, share it. Justice runs on laws, but it's moved by people, and people change when they feel pressure. Like the video, subscribe for more stories. See you next time.